Guess who got brands talking? Brandlive.co.za.
It's Monday, the 23rd of July. Good morning to all our listeners. Welcome to Breaking the Chains Recovery Radio, broadcasting live from 27 Boxes in Melville. My name is Warren.
Good morning, Warren. My name is Mannie. I'm an addict.
Morning, Uncle Mannie.
In the studio with us this morning, we got Nicola, a recovered addict that's going to discuss with us the lack of women in recovery, the lack of help for women, and the lack of understanding when it comes to dealing with women addicts. Welcome, Nicola.
Good morning. Thank you for having me on the show.
Nicola, welcome to the show, and thank you so much for coming through. What I want to know from you, Nicola, is you, as Uncle Mannie just said, you're a woman, you're in recovery, and there was obviously a long road of pain and suffering like all us men, like women alike, go through before we come into recovery. What was your journey of addiction, and what brought you into recovery?
So, at a very young age, I started alcohol and drugs.
Mm-hmm.
I was a heroin addict at the age of 14 already. And yeah, I mean, my journey didn't last many years before I hit my rock bottom. But I ended up in Hillbrow, and from Hillbrow I ended up with a jail sentence. And after that, I entered the room of Narcotics Anonymous, where I have been in recovery for the last 14 years. Yeah, I mean, my journey has been a roller coaster with a lot of ups and downs, but I think that when I decided to come clean, I knew that I wanted a life for myself, and I was going to do whatever it takes to get that, no matter what. The consequences of my using were huge, and luckily I was introduced to Narcotics Anonymous at that stage already. So I had the step work, I had the NA Blue Book, I had whatever I needed to start my road to recovery, and I basically cleaned up in prison. Which was the best for me because I had to be by myself. I was a juvenile at the time, and I was locked in a single cell every single day, which was my saving grace up to now, because I had 1 year to take a good hard look at myself about what happened, where I am, and where I want to go in future.
Nicola, like Warren alludes to the pain and the suffering, right? I've been working in the field of recovery for a number of years now, and there's certainly barriers for women to enter. Your saving grace being in prison maybe was in your case. Not all women end up there. How do we get the message across to women that there's no shame in finding a life that's based on morals and on values and on giving back to society? Because that's what NA is. That's the journey of recovery, is giving back. I know there's issues like prostitution and rape and their dignity being removed, and it's very difficult. For men it's hard. I can imagine for women it must be doubly hard. What's your views on those points?
So my views on women coming into recovery look like this. So a lot of us have children at a very young age because of our addiction, and that is a primary factor of women not entering into recovery, because we do not want to leave our children under any circumstances, even if we are still using. We know that we are we are their mother and they need us. And there's a big stigma out there saying, yeah, well, you can't leave your children, you can't go into treatment, pull yourself together, you're the mother, you should know what to do, who else will look after your child? And the shame and the guilt that comes with that keeps us away from treatment, firstly, and then keeps us away from NA as a whole. Because we need to look after the family. We need to make sure everything works in the home. So it doesn't leave us with a lot of time to concentrate on our recovery and what we need to deal with. A lot of women come into recovery with trauma, with abuse, whether it be mentally, emotionally, physically. The trauma that comes with that can keep us either in a codependent relationship where we just go from one abusive relationship to the next because we actually don't know what else to do. And a lot of the trauma and the abuse leads us women to such a place of degradation and isolation where our self-esteem is so low, our self-worth is so low. To come out of that black hole or that black pit of the abuse that we let ourselves go through or that happens to us through our using, to let go of that stuff, you need very, very intense therapy, a lot of group therapy, a lot of workshops surrounding how do we stand up for ourselves as a woman, even though this has been my past. So even though I was in a crack house, or even though I was in Hillbrow, and even though I was prostituting myself, that does not define who I am today. But there comes a certain therapeutic factor that I believe only women can transfer from woman to woman. And we lack that. That is what we lack in our society today. Safe places where women can go to and actually look at their stuff and deal with their stuff with other women. We really lack the support for empowering women in the society.
You know, I think from our discussion before the show, you're involved in a center that predominantly deals with women. And Breaking the Chains has just opened a center predominantly for women, managed by women, with the solutions provided by women. I think that's a start in the right direction.
Absolutely.
But I also believe that society and men have a huge role in playing when a woman walks into recovery. The marginalization of women is well documented in the history of our existence, if you want to put it that. And women are seen as objects and need to be subservient and follow the line and toe the line. But recovery doesn't allow that. Recovery allows for freedom. We call it catharsis, true freedom, true liberation of the soul. And a number of women that I've met over the years have actually crossed that barrier. So I think what I want from you is to let the ladies out there that are battling today and don't know how to make that move, maybe give them some encouragement or some guidelines on how you overcame the stigma and the shame.
So, I mean, the way I overcame it was literally I threw myself into the program of Narcotics Anonymous. I threw myself into the program, I threw myself into therapy, and I knew that if I didn't overcome this, and if I stay in that guilt and shame of my past and what has happened to me, I will not be able to make it in future. I will not be able to be follow my passion. I will not be able to be a mother. I will not be able to be a wife. I'll not be able to fulfill any role in my life in that guilt and shame. And yes, addiction, especially drug abuse, comes with a degradation where a lot of women turn to prostitution and a lot of women turn to abuse. But I mean, I'm sitting here going, there is no shame in coming out of that. It's not how we fall, it's how we get up. And we also, with the Women's Centre that I'm currently running, I mean, we're also looking at, in future, opening a centre also for kids, so that a woman can bring their children with them to treatment. We will look after the kids while you can recover, because essentially that's what needs to happen. I need to recover from within. I need to get taken out of society, put into some home, a reintegration home, a rehab, where I can safely break down, look at what's going on, and rebuild myself from there. And there's absolutely no shame in what we have done in our addiction. The biggest shame for me is that women do not have the self-esteem or the self-worth to stand up and say, you know what, like, I was there, but that's not who I am today. And I am not at all who I was 14 years ago. And I cannot sit in that place, in that dark pit of a hole where I'm getting judged for what I have done. When people look at me today, they see who I am today. And I encourage women to just ask for the help and just seek the help, because the help is there. It's very little at the moment, but the help is definitely there. And I mean, we need to empower our women, and we need to just get them out of the pit that they are sitting in. And like, you guys are not alone out there. You know, there's a lot of us that are here to help, that are willing to help, that want to help. You've just got to have the courage and the open-mindedness, I guess, to say, you know what, I am worth it.
Well, Nicola, for me, I sit here and I see a very strong woman. So I want to congratulate you on your last 14 years and the obvious changes that you've made to your own life. We're going to go to an ad break now. When we come back from the break, I want you to tell us a bit about what those gifts have been in the last 14 years, what the gifts to you, to your family, and also to society as a whole. I know when we get clean as addicts, men, women, not only do we improve our own lives, but we're able to add so much to society and to bring this gift of recovery to so many others, countless others, in fact. So you're listening to brandlive.co.za. The show is Breaking the Chains, live from 27 Boxes, Melville. We'll be right back.
Sigamoney in the convo corner.
Check this out.
It's time for the convo corner.
And what we have for you is, does the age gap really matter in sexual relationships? Viva Kyolwana. Sorry, you look at Zoto Wabantu and her Ben 10, and you ask yourself so many questions that this old woman dating this
young
baby, and maybe it's because he's probably mature. Who knows? Now, if you both are on the same level of maturity, like I mentioned, don't let the attached age number cloud your decision. Because here's the thing: it could be your, the person that you're going to spend the rest of your life with, but because
100%.
of society, and you think
brandlive.co.za.
The Dramatic Talk with myself, Bongani Drama, bringing you insightful conversations on the Convo Corner, your latest celebrity news on Dramatainment, and your latest fashion news on Stash and Fade.
This is Bongani.
And myself, Rose Rataha, bringing you your latest news and sports updates.
Every Wednesdays, 2 to 3 p.m. Only on www.brandlive.co.za.
Brandlive.co.za is Thought Leadership Radio. It's a new way to communicate your brand, your value, and what you think about your industry. Be a leader.
You'll never stop at one. I'll take you all on.
Be your voice.
I have a dream.
And we will help you shape your industry. Our radio platform is for thought leaders who want to share insights, businesses who want to create value for their databases, organizations who want to control their message, for those that drive change. Make your brand come alive on brandlife.co.za, harnessing the power of talk radio.
Okay, good morning, we're back. Breaking the Chains Recovery Radio, 27 Boxer Street out in Melville. We're speaking to Nicola, a strong, powerful woman that has spent the last 14 years in peace and in joy, in recovery. Nicola, you say you went to prison, right? Can I just ask you, what is the attitude of your immediate family? I know we cause a lot of chaos and mayhem, but what was the thinking, if you know, at that time when you were in prison?
So what was the thinking of those around me? I think those around me were, and I know my family, especially my mother, was actually quite grateful that she knew where I was every single day, because before that she didn't. She knew I was somewhere in Hillbrow, and she didn't know if she'd get a phone call if I was dead or not the next morning or that evening. But the impact around it and the stigma around it, when people had to ask her about her children, I'm sure it was a level of kind of shame around it. Like, your daughter is an addict, a heroin addict, and she's in prison, and like, it's not something.
What are the other tannies gonna say?
Exactly. Exactly. Like, it's different for a boy or a man. They I don't know. It's just people see them different in a different light. But
so there's a lot of stigma around women.
Absolutely. The stigma around women are like, a woman needs to, go to school, raise a family, stay at home, cook, clean, take care of the children, and don't put your foot out of that line.
I would like to call a spade a spade. I call it double standards.
There we go.
I'm fortunate I have a son and a daughter. They're not addicts, but I know sitting here as a father, and I know anybody in my family, my sisters, my brothers. And I think maybe it's a culture thing. I don't know, because we have different cultures and different dynamics. But I would rob a bank. I'd sell my house. I'd do anything to afford treatment centers. Some of them are quite expensive, and I think we want to make recovery a little bit more affordable. I think we're both working in the same space, and it's not really it's not rocket science. I think it's more about being human and finding the compassion and love for another human being, irrespective of race, color, or identity. And I just can't understand why so many women don't come into recovery, because the trend these days, couples are using together, and the men come into recovery, but you don't ever hear about the wife or the girlfriend or even the side chick, if you want to call her that. And that's worrying for me.
And I think as Uncle Mannie just said, the financial implications are huge. We discussed last week the treatment centers of up to 70,000 Rand a month. I think you could do 2 years in breaking the chains for that. There's a lot of investment that needs to go into someone. When a person walks into a treatment center, regardless of whether it's financial, the financial is big, society needs to start investing in people in order to have these women such as yourself. You got sober as a juvenile, and have these women get sober and go forward into society and become leaders, doctors. Hopefully one day South Africa will have a woman president. And if that investment isn't happening, we don't know whether that young girl out there on the street could be South Africa's first female president, hopefully not the worst. Nicola, why do you believe society isn't investing in women, and why do you believe families aren't investing in women receiving help in addiction?
I think can I just take it a bit further, Warren? You know, it's very politically correct and fashionable to sponsor orphans and to sponsor AIDS homes and to sponsor hospice, which are all very good causes. So I'm not taking away from the cause. However, there's very few corporates that do social investment with drug addicts. People that are 18, 14, 15, dropped out of school, need to be skilled, need to be treated for their addiction, need to find employment. And there's very little investment. I know of 2 organizations that do that, you know, and I'm going to shout out to them because one is Telkom and one is Netco. So I think at the same time, part of the show is we want to awaken people's spirits to the possibilities of recovery and the spin-offs that it has for society. So let's get your view on that.
So, I just quickly wanted to tap onto what you said about your daughter and your son. Now, for example, your son, if he was an addict, you would easily put him into a government rehab. Am I correct?
That's debatable. But knowing what I know today,
Yes.
I would prefer to put him in a center that focuses on recovery and not a number.
Sure. But I mean, if you take a boy or a girl, it's much easier for a boy to go into a government
for sure.
rehab than it is for a woman or a girl to go into that government rehab.
I think also the mixing of male and female in one
Exactly.
center.
Exactly. And I mean, our government rehabs are doing what they can, but I mean, they're really not, I think, up to the standard that we would like them to be.
Mm.
And that is because they don't have funding. You know, they don't have corporate funding. They don't have corporate funding to open a only women section where they bring in all the, I mean, we have such strong women in this country that can help, for example. Like I was actually saying yesterday, like if Brenda Fassie had to make it into recovery, she would have been a dynamite, you know. We lose a lot of women to addiction because there is just no safe space for us to recover. And we don't have funding for that. And the corporates are much more looking for the other causes, where is hunger, orphans, that kind of stuff, than looking at drug addicts, because also the statistics around drug addicts staying clean without a relapse in it is very, very minimal.
And would you not say also part society not understanding addiction, that addiction is an illness?
Sure. I think there is much more drug awareness around than there used to be.
Yes.
But because of the high relapse rate, people are not willing to invest into the world of addiction, which is really, really sad, because I know that once I was introduced to NA, my using was never the same again. I could never ever use the same. So even if there was a relapse, I would always make it back to recovery because it just wasn't the same. And so even though the relapse is so high, the recovery is never lost once you've got it. And I think that's what people need to know. Like, we don't lose our recovery when we relapse, you know, and everything we've learned, we don't lose that. We just kind of pick up again. It's not how we fall, it's how we get back up. And that's what it's about, and that's what people don't understand.
Without a doubt.
Nicola, thank you so much for coming on to the show. I think I've learned a lot from you. I'm sure all our listeners have learned a lot from you. And thank you for carrying a message of hope, because that's what Breaking the Chains Recovery Radio is all about, that there is hope. All these challenges you've spoken about, here you sit today and you've overcome them. So any shout outs from your side, Nicola? Uncle Mannie, I know you want to send 1 or 2 shout outs. Recovery Heroes, a segment we're going to be doing very soon for people who are celebrating anniversaries in recovery. Anything from you guys this week?
So I've got a shout out, especially to my family that's been there no matter what. A big shout out to all of those that do amazing work in this field. I mean, we have amazing people working in this field. One of my, icons is Justin Janssen. I mean, he's been great. Carmen's been also fantastic in just, helping me become who I am and follow my passion. And I feel completely complete now, which is amazing.
Okay, my shout out today goes to Jakes. Jakes from Thames House, the man that saved my life and saved so many lives, and the spin-offs from his recovery, the amount of addicts that have gone out there and saved other lives. Jakes was 26 years clean, and for the last 26 years he's tirelessly labored in the field of addiction. To you, my brother, I want to say God bless and continue to keep you on this journey of recovery. And then to the other baby, Ice Cube Lyle from the Annandale area that celebrated 1 year on Saturday at Breaking the Chains, Big shout out to you, Lyle. And then I also want to just end off with saying, women don't need to suffer alone.
No.
There are many addicts out there that are working in this field of service that we call it, that are willing to give of themselves and of their time, of their money, and of their soul to help women out there. So 083 991 5600 is the number to call. Nicola, give us your number, please.
My number is 082 922 0977.
Okay, that's it for us today.
And then just one shout out from me, Uncle Mannie. I want to give a shout out to the man who saved my life, and that's you. Thanks for saving my life, boss.
It's been a pleasure, my brother. So we're leaving you today. Next week we're going to be discussing how addicts have walked this journey. We're going to look at legislation. We're going to look at the barriers that prevent people from recovery. We're going to look at a number of things in the show. To all the corporates out there, search your soul, search your pockets, dig deep. Let's get women and let's get men off the streets and into recovery. Coming to you live from Brand Live, 27 Boxes in Melville.
Harnessing the power of talk radio. Brandlive.co.za